Seahawks fans were wondering what the plan was when the Seahawks went out and they traded their best defensive player, arguably at least their best pass rusher in Frank Clark, to the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, part of the plan was not only drafting LJ Collier in the first round, but also signing a veteran presence off the edge like Ziggy Ansah, formerly of the Detroit Lions. Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Mitch here of TheBottomLineView, here to give you my thoughts on Ziggy Ansah signing with the Seattle Seahawks to a one-year contract and hopefully helping the Seahawks on the edge of their defense get pressure after opposing quarterbacks. So, like I said, Frank Clark is gone. So the Seattle Seahawks, they really desperately needed not only an edge presence on their defense, but also just defensive linemen in general. So they go out, they draft a potential replacement in LJ Collier, a player that I really liked in the draft at where they got him. And he's a player that could play outside. He can also play a little bit inside on certain pass rushing situations. But then they get a strict edge rusher who's going to come in really on third down, going to come in on passing situations, and hopefully contribute in Ziggy Ansah. Now, Ansah has formerly been a top-tier pass rusher in the NFL. He hasn't been that recently, really, for the Detroit Lions, but he has had seasons where he's had over 10 sacks. One year where he had 14.5 sacks, one year where he had 12 sacks. He's had an 8-sack season in there, 7.5 sacks. Last season, he had 4 sacks in 7 games. The real thing for Ziggy has been injuries. When he's on the field, he's contributed, especially as a pass rusher. He's never been a great run stuffer or run defender in general, but he has had a lot of success at rushing the passer. He's very athletic still. He's still very quick off the ball. He's extremely long, and he's just a freaky defensive end. Like, if you look at him, he has like crazy long arms. He's really tall for an edge player, and he's really quick off the ball. So that's what he's going to give you. In his prime, like 2015 Ziggy Ansah, he's going to give you an elite rusher who's a guy that you have to game plan against. Now, I'm not counting on that. Even though last season in 2017, not 2018, but 2017, he had 12 sacks, I don't think he was overall the same player from a disruption standpoint. It's one thing to get 12 sacks, but then it's another thing to be like what Frank Clark was for the Seahawks and be a disruption and a playmaker on every down. And Frank Clark at the same time was also a run defender. So in a way, the Seahawks kind of pulled a Patriot-like a maneuver in what the Patriots did with Trey Flowers, where they got rid of Trey Flowers, or they didn't necessarily get rid of him, but they let him go to free agency to the Detroit Lions. So what do? They trade for Michael Bennett to get a close replacement, and then they help to draft like a Chase Winovich on the edge to help out with the pass rushing department as well. So in this way, the Seahawks, they drafted LJ Collier, and they also added Ziggy Ansah, kind of pulling that Patriot-like maneuver and getting 2 players that are going to be cheaper, more worthwhile for their contract, but going to replace, hopefully, the production of that singular player in certain situations. So no, you're not going to see Ziggy Ansah playing every single snap like you would see Frank Clark. You're not going to see LJ Collier playing every single snap unless he becomes a stud right away. But you're going to see those 2 players kind of interchangeably help this defense hopefully replace what Frank Clark gave them. Ziggy had shoulder surgery, so he's really not expected to come in right away and contribute. The Seahawks are hoping that he is going to be a player that he is going to come in late in the season and hopefully help them in the last 8 weeks of the season, and hopefully he's fully healthy at that point, possibly a PUP list candidate where he could come off the PUP list and then contribute to the team right away. There's not much scheme-wise that he really has to learn. He just needs to say, hey, I need to put my hand in the dirt and get after the quarterback. It's pretty much all he needs to do. And he's not really going to be in a system like the Matt Patricia defense where he's not asked to do all these different things defensively, scheme-wise. The Seahawks, they're more like, okay, edge rushers, get after the quarterback. The Patriot system in terms of Matt Patricia defensively and what he brought to the Lions, that wasn't exactly the strong suit of Ziggy's game. So now he gets to go to a place that is more suited to his game, more asked to just do what he does best, and that's sack the quarterback. So overall, I think this made a ton of sense for the Seattle Seahawks. This was a very good value signing. Now, the big thing is, can he contribute right away? Can he help you? Because he's hurt. So can he come in this season and actually help you? I think it's worth the risk to sign him to a 1-year contract. It's really not worth any money whatsoever. So there's no real risk involved in this signing, and that's the type of signings that I love because you're getting a potentially very dangerous edge rusher, a player that's been very productive for a very low cost with very little risk. So yeah, you might be tentative to say that he's going to be a 10-sack player, which he probably won't be. He's going to be a situational pass rusher that can contribute. That's the way I would look at it. But he's going to definitely upgrade, at least the way that I think of the Seahawks defensive line and their pass rush coming into 2019. So overall, love the signing. Overall, think this helps the Seahawks defense. I do want to kind of cover a side point. Doug Baldwin was released today, and also Cam Chancellor was released today. So just on that note, Doug Baldwin, legend of the Seahawks. Cam Chancellor, arguably Hall of Famer, legend of the Seahawks as well. Of course, we saw the Cam Chancellor thing coming. Doug Baldwin thing kind of took me a little bit off guard. I'd like to hear what you guys think about that in the comment section below. But obviously, Doug Baldwin seems like he's out for the season. So will the Seahawks, or at least the season, but not only the season, but potentially his career, do you think that the Seahawks will go out and sign a veteran receiver? Because now they have Tyler Lockett, and really their number 2 is DK Metcalf. So look out for the Seahawks to still be active in that regard in signing some players, some veterans in free agency. But I think Ziggy was a really good piece that I think they added, as well as adding a corner as well to their back end, but a smaller move. I think Ziggy was a great signing. Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Mitch of TheBottomLineView. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.